It has got nothing to do with fucking Blue Monday and the Manchester new wave synth pop scene and Joy Division. This is actually a película mexicana film about class and race and violence and power control. I've heard about this film a fair bit, particularly through social media and also Movie and various other platforms that are dedicated to people who are interested in film and cinema. Needless to say, it has been very controversial upon release, particularly in Mexico, which is where it comes from. It is a French production to some extent, but it was set largely in Ciudad de Mexico because it depicts brown people as violent and threatening and whites as rich and privileged and they can buy a way out of stuff. That's pretty much the entire idea of this film, is pretty much based on a class and a race war that's going on. I know it's easy to assume that it can only happen between whites and blacks, or Israeli and Palestinians, but yes, even countries where people don't look white can have racism and extreme prejudice and homophobia and bigotry and sexism and a lot of horrible things. It is not just limited to whites or blacks. But this is probably the most urgent film that I can even think of at this time. Whether you interpret it as some sort of social class statement or just a left-wing socialist critique and attack that's supposed to make anyone who have capitalist opinions look like the devil, it is very much the most polarizing film you could ever imagine. It is the very thing that people like Nigel Farage and Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck and Tucker Carlson will go on about for hours and hours saying that this is propaganda. Well, you can interpret it as that as such, but it's really up for you to decide whether it's a good or bad film. For me, I just thought, I'm glad I'm seeing a film that's just shocking and controversial. It's going to be part of the conversation. And yes, it is, one can argue, a socialist critique, but the ending and some of the devices toward the end doesn't make it seem entirely clear as to what side the film takes itself. Maybe this is on purpose, maybe it's not. It's up to you to decide. I wish I could be a little bit more detailed about the matter, but I might get a lot of comments, just like the director Michel Franco got, saying, "This is propaganda, you are promoting a reverse racist narrative." Now those who say that usually tend to be right-wing. But, I've seen what Michel Franco looks like. He looks like a mulatto. He looks like he's half black, half white or Hispanic, Latin American, whatever he is. I'm sure he's coming from an angle which is explaining what people's opinions are. In many ways, just like The Hunt, which was another controversial film that people were unsure of how to interpret it as such. Craig Zobel, that now is my favourite film of 2020, and that just came out on the very beginning of the pandemic, and then a week later cinemas closed. But I saw this as cinemas were reopened, but it was also available on demand, so I thought to give it a try, because they weren't really playing it anywhere that was nearby and local. So, needless to say, I was pleasantly surprised, but I don't think it's the greatest film I've ever seen. I thought it was going to be, but I did find some of the pacing and story mechanics in the film a bit wonky and unclear and fuzzy, but I think it's the topicality of it all, more so than some of the shoddy pacing and whatnot, is what keeps the film on its toes. Because this one is pretty cutthroat. Whether you're in Mexico, Estados Unidos, Reinos Unidos, Francia, Alemania, or todos los países. Esto no problema por la gente. That's about as much Spanish as I can speak, but you get the idea. Skinny but signing off until next time. La pay.